up as a kid in Arkansas, riding four-wheelers, dirt bikes, lived in the backyard of an airport, essentially. There's something about it. I came home one summer, I think I was 11 years old, from Charlotte to Arkansas, and my mom and dad told me to get a hobby, that I needed to do something with my life besides, video games and dirt bikes.
It really didn't start, actually, the talk about what are you going to do with your life and things like that until he got to be probably 11, 12.
Again, just growing up around it, watching the airplanes take off and land, I said, hey, why not?
And one day he came home. He was 13 years old. He came home and he said, I want to learn to fly.
I guess I remember that one summer, I rode my four-wheelers out to the Blytheville airport for my first flight lesson, after again convincing mom and dad into letting me do it.
Well, that was the beginning. He began to take lessons from Wally.
Yeah, he was a little bit nervous and real young, and I thought, man, he'll never get to solo.
First flying lesson, my house is right over there. So I ride down here. I have my friend from Charlotte. We had two four-wheelers, one of them sitting over there, those four-wheelers. Drove down here, drove around the gate, and then the airplane was sitting right here. I'll never forget, it was nosed in. It was the 172, and it was sitting here just nosed in right there, and we stood out here for 30 minutes, did a pre-flight, taught me how to check the controls, how to sump the fuel, how to check the oil, and just do all the pre-flight stuff. And then 30, 45 minutes later, we hopped in, and this is when I was saying, he said, you ready to go fly? And I said, well, yeah, let's go. I don't know what my first impression per se was. I think I was just so overwhelmed with, I'm getting ready to take my first flying lesson. And I had met Wally before then, obviously.
But I was just absolutely awed. He had determination and skills, and he was determined he was going to do it and stayed with it. He became a better pilot than me.
He was a great teacher, and he let you learn. He let you learn hands-on, and I was a hands-on person. I am still to this day. I've got to do it myself, and that was Wally.
I'm accustomed to flying with students that, we all make mistakes, and even instructors make mistakes, but he was exceptionally sharp. His mistakes were few.
Did very well, but I had no idea how well he did. And this went on for 3 years, and he was learning how to fly different aircraft. And then he told me, he said, at the age of 16, on my birthday, I am going to solo.
That morning I woke up, I remember hearing that bush just pounding the side of the house. And I'm like, oof, let's go away. It's windy, and it's crack of dawn. And normally you get up early in the morning to go solo because the winds are, more favorable. They're not as gusty or as windy.
The wind was blowing. I guess it was blowing quite a clip because these pilots said, I wouldn't solo on this day. But he was determined he was going to solo on that day.
I didn't realize, and it did become a big deal to me, was when I was taxiing out. I remember when I got in the 152 was the first one. And like I said, I got in there and I noticed it felt different because it was windy and it was moving, and that was because I didn't have Wally, but I was taxiing that way. So I must have taken off on that this way. And then I did the Cardinal and the 340 going this way. I remember steering this 152 down the taxiway, and it was just kind of almost like it was skipping. And it was trying to pick it up, and I was like, what in the world? I was like, I've never felt that before. And finally, I started getting a little anxiety or anxious around it because I'd never felt that. And I finally dawned on me that I didn't have Wally, my 220-pound ballast, holding this airplane down. But I remember texting and I said, wow, this is different now that Wally's not in here. And that got on the runway, took off, and I just remember everything was slightly different, not having that extra weight. And that was the first time I felt that.
He soloed 4 aircraft.
Well, we started in the morning with the Cessna 150. Then we went to the Cessna 172. And then he went to the Cardinal RG, and he soloed that one. And then we were talking about the 340. I felt very comfortable to solo him in it, but insurance would not cover him in it. So his dad said, if you would like to do it, he said, I'll stand the risk on it. And I said, we'll do it.
Was I nervous about the insurance thing? Well, sure. I mean, you're going to go fly the airplane with no insurance, essentially. You don't want anything to happen. I mean, that was my baby. Probably slept on that thing a couple times.
The last one he soloed was the 340, which, even though we'd been flying it, I was scared because he was up there totally alone.
My dad being around out there was just kind of, what's going on? How's this going? Is NJ like this? He had a lot of conversations with Wally. As far as my mom goes, no, she was terrified.
After solo, we just kept working. He had to be 17 to get his private license. Right. And so we continued training, and he just kept getting better all the time.
In his bedroom, he had a little room off to the side. And in that room, it was set up, and there was computers on this table with big screens. And he had flight sim.
I had the joystick, I had the rudder pedals. I mean, and I flew that thing every day. From school, I'd fly that thing. And I could fly from I think it was the Learjet was the most complex one, to the smaller ones. I had buddies come over, they'd crash every time, and I could do it. I mean, I could shoot an approach, I could shoot an ADF, I could do pretty much anything on that flight simulator.
I guess it was like homework. Every day he would come home from school and he would go in there. He'd be in there doing flight sim for at least an hour or two.
So it was amazing to me how much that flight simulation, just a game, prepared me for actual flying. Even my instructor, Wally, I remember him saying a couple times, like, you're really far ahead on some of the stuff, and that's, where'd you get that? And so this flight simulator.
He was exceptionally sharp. Safety was always a big factor for him, too.
I don't know, and it was just an overwhelming experience of freedom and having control, and I just loved it from day one, and I knew I could start a business out of it.
He followed me around like a shadow, learning everything he could about, and helped refueling airplanes. And when the mechanic was working on the airplane, he was right there watching so he could learn all about the airplane too.
So I learned all the facets really, from being a pilot to servicing the aircraft, doing the mechanical work, how to get fuel orders. My dad had a lot of friends that did a lot of work for the steel industry, and they all had private jets. They had their personal pilots, and I was very fortunate to be able to fly with them in the right seat of a lot of these, very small jets. The onboard amenities and the fit and finish of the airplane. I was very blessed to have a nice sample size of the differences and the variances that you experience in private air travel.
And I actually had the thought that he might do the same thing as his father. And he made it very clear to me one day in the car, we were driving along. He said, "Mom, I don't want to do what Dad does."
I just had an entrepreneurial spirit, and I wanted to own my own business. Probably a lot of it came from watching my father, hearing his story, how he started from nothing, he reading parking meters, bussing tables, hitchhiking to work and to college, and then getting his first job in the steel industry and just working his way up to the top. I always wanted to own something that was mine, that I had control over. And obviously, loving aviation, I figured out a way to turn that into not just a hobby, but into a business.
They were supportive of him on what he wanted to do. They were very supportive.
In the meantime, this is getting close, this is when he's turning 16. John had bought a 340.
Convinced my dad into getting that first twin Cessna 340. I was serious, and I'm sure he didn't realize how serious I was, but internally in my mind, I was like, I'm going to do something with this. I never drew out on a sheet of paper, of milestones that I wanted to hit and when I wanted to add a turbine engine or a turboprop. I never really had that. I had a business model and a business plan, And, I had to make sure the numbers worked and how much to charge and what my costs were to operate. But the milestones, obviously the 340, it's a very nice airplane, if you will, for that time and that era. It wasn't a full cabin class airplane, but I'd say that was one milestone is, having a twin engine pressurized high performance airplane that could get above a little weather.
That was the beginning of his career, and he started then flying his father. His father really wouldn't fly with anybody else.
Hasn't changed a bit. Used to back my 340 in right here. Used to do all the maintenance on it. Used to be a spark plug. Can't remember the name of it. Spark plug checker over there. He'd always give me the spark plugs. I'd go check them over there. And this was his office right here. Frank Hernandez. Same chair. Desk used to be here, and I used to sit in the corner right there on a big old lazy boy.
When was the last time you were in here?
At least 20 years.
Looks the same.
It hasn't changed. It's probably in better shape. I mean, it hadn't changed a bit. See, all this little spare parts were in here. Yeah, so I got the bend up. Hadn't changed a bit.
What was this room? This was an office.
That was his office. Used to be George Benson's office. He used to be the guy that ran the airport before Wally. And then Wally took over the airport, and I started flying around that time. But George Benson was our Methodist preacher, and then he flew a King Air 90. And I used to go in there when I was very little, probably 8, 9 years old, and he'd always get a big old pipe. He'd be smoking a pipe, kick back, and then he'd fly a King Air that was that he had here. It wasn't for charter. He'd just fly his friends and family and do dry leases. And then he left, and then Frank Hernandez took over the maintenance and took the office. And like I said, my 340 was always broken. It was constant. It was always in here before I got my hangar. And then we moved down there and we started doing the work in my hangar.
So was this his flight planning room too? Was this
No, that was over there. This is just like the man cave.
The hangout.
Yeah. Well, one of the hangouts if you wanted to get away from everybody. The airport over here is where everybody would sit up and tell lies. Same porch. So you'll see in my solo pictures, my dad's sitting here,
There's a lot of pictures.
Wally's standing over here, and then just all the bullshitting you can think of happened right here. You just sit here. There should be, I think, I'd say it was 8, maybe 6 chairs. You just sit out here and watch the airplanes. The desk I used to work at was right here. It was sitting there. This was a display cabinet, probably right here with all your charts and headsets, splitters, and then there's chairs that were sitting around the display cabinet, and then a big chair there, and this is where everybody would just sit down and smoke their cigarettes and shoot the bull, tell lies. Instructor room here. This was Wally's office. You'd walk in here. I wish we had pictures of it. And this was actually the original thing Wally taught me on right here. Wally taught me with the same thing. Ailerons, flaps, stabilizer, elevators. Pretty basic.
Did the trick.
Mm-hmm. Same thing. But yeah, Wally's office was here. And I mean, he had paperwork. Not organized. But used to hang out in here a lot too. Pretty nice. Then we had this little area over here. That was the pilot's lounge, which is still there. They redid all of it. But then my mechanic, so he was a Hispanic. Anyway, Frank Hernandez, I mean, I loved him to death. He taught me so much, but every day, so we'd be in here shooting a bull after we'd get done, working, after we quit for lunch. He'd come in here and he'd eat his lunch, and then he'd come over here and sit down, and he'd lay down on a couch right here, and an old Zenith TV stuck down here in the corner, barely color, and we'd sit there and he would sit there. He had Jerry Springer on every day. So I sit here and we're like, well, why are we watching Jerry Springer for? He loved it. He loved Jerry Springer. So I got my flavor of that early on. Who knows how much time I spent here? A lot. That was back here where I cut my shirt out, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty sure the photo was right here. This used to be a big, no, this was here. This was a big whiteboard. So we'd do all of our work on the whiteboard, and there was a big conference room table in here. We did all of our flight training in here. We did cross-country planning. This is when the back of my shirt was cut out. My dad would always come in and check, make sure. He wanted to come shoot the bull too. Yep. And then, my friends also, they were kind of, they'd laugh at me, but they were just like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I've got a business going here. They're like, yeah, whatever, let's go to the beach or let's go do something else. And I'd pass up a lot of those opportunities to hang out with them, to, if you would call it running the business, which again, a kid in high school has no idea what he's doing, but I was learning my lessons. I was learning the hard way at a very young age. My dad was a very easy flyer. He just did A to B. He'd get in the back, he'd fall asleep within 5 minutes and wake up when the wheels touched the ground. My mom was a very nervous flyer.
I'm constantly looking, like I said, I like to be connected to the ground. I'm constantly looking at the ground if I can see it.
The joke between my dad and I is always, Mom's actually the pilot. She's in control. It was always, the weather's too windy. It's, look at the forecast. It says it's going to be 50% chance for thunderstorms.
And if it starts rocking and rolling a little bit, no, they don't. I look out to see what's causing it. And it's clouds or usually something,
I remember taking off from Charlotte and flying to Blytheville. And again, my mom was right. She had valid concerns. You've got mountain ranges, you got to cross those mountains. And Wally even thought we were done. I remember I've never seen Wally that scared himself. He few choice words out of his mouth, and he said, we're in trouble.
When we got over Nashville, we checked the weather here, and it was down to minimums. And I knew it was going to be really touchy on fuel. And so I checked to see what it was in Jonesboro. Jonesboro was socked in, and I checked Memphis. Memphis was down to minimums.
Anyway, it was a bad ordeal. Had my mother in that airplane. I do remember that. I remember she had the blanket over her head in the back seat of that 340, and the reason I knew she had the blanket over her head because all the lights were off back there, but the lightning was so bright that it would light up the cabin.
So we came in, and he shot the approach, busted out right there, and the runway in front of us. Beautiful landing.
My dad decided to resign from Nucor, and we were living in Charlotte at that time. And what was I going to do? I thought about staying in Charlotte, but I also again wanted to learn what my father was doing. I wanted to learn more about the steel industry, and so I moved to Columbus, Mississippi with them. I did that in Columbus while I was kind of running this little aviation company. I was dabbling in both of them. And it was, I guess, 2007, 8 is when I decided that the steel industry it just wasn't for me. I didn't feel like I was really going anywhere. I felt like I was missing out on opportunity. Met her in 2005, right? 2006. Around the time I moved to Columbus, Mississippi. That's when I was really getting into it. That's when I had my first PC-12, was right around that time, and that's when I was really starting to develop, the business and what it is today.
First thought, we have to remember that I've known about him since I was a kid, because I was best friends with his cousins in Arkansas. So I'd known about him, known about his mom and dad. So I already knew that he was the cousin that flew an airplane. So I knew that he rode four-wheelers in the back of his house and brought them home covered in mud. And
She knew I was the best-looking lad she'd ever seen.
I knew all the good stories. Yeah.
My side, this is the only side that counts. I always made a priority, though, to make sure I showed up to Jonesboro on the weekend. So
He did.
remember, we didn't live together. I was just
We
had
were
to
long
fly up to
distance,
Jonesboro
yeah.
and go see her, and or bring her back down to Columbus to come see me. But
He did. I'll
I
give
was
him
pretty
that.
good about those.
Every
weekends back
weekend
then.
he came.
Flight schedule is a little different than what it is today. I go out and make all the money in the week, and then I go spend it all going up to see her in jet fuel.
Yes, he was gone a lot. Yes. Yeah, he was the pilot. He was the maintenance guy. He was the accountant. He was doing it all. I don't get surprised very often, especially with him. His vision is way above mine. He can think really big, and I have a hard time with that. So usually I can go with the flow with whatever he throws at me. But as far as how it's come, was I surprised? Not really. I knew that he wanted it to be big. I knew that he wanted to make it be, what am I trying to say?
Something.
Something, yes.
Not just a small, mom and pop shop in Northeast Mississippi. It was, I don't know. We know our lanes, and we know it's almost like read each other's mind. But she knows what my ambitions are. I don't have to really say them, and I know where she stands. And she's very relaxed and easygoing, and very, very,
I always
very
know
uncommon for her to
something.
complain. Right?
Yes,
I mean, she
I'm
gets
not
it.
a
She understands
complainer.
what I'm trying to do. What we're trying to do as a team, her and I, and as a team here at Nicholas Air. I mean, she understands that we're trying to build a company, and that's not easy. The second milestone, or the big milestone, was obviously the Pilatus PC-12. I mean, that's when, I felt like I was the big dog. And, I fell in love with that thing. I got on board, and it was a full cabin class airplane. It was huge to me. And I remember, man, if I could just have one of these, I could kill it, And so it was very expensive, though. So that was a tough decision to make, and that we didn't make immediately. It took a few years before I finally pulled the trigger on it.
He had just gotten the first Pilatus, and so sat down and talked about that. And I said, I tell you what, I said, I like your plane. It looks good. It looks like it might make some sense for us to look at, being on a card program, for Taylor. I said, but you'll never sell my brother on it. It'll never happen. No way. There's no way it's going to happen. We're going to see how good a salesman you are.
The whole thought was, where are we going to go to find a plane? What kind of plane would best suit our needs initially? And then the overhead it would take to operate it. Pilots, maintenance, crew support, all those things played into that decision-making. It was a little overwhelming to us. We had been doing a lot of business with John Correnti, NJ's dad, and knew him well, and through that, we learned of John's son being in this very business. Hey, my son's doing this. I really wish you'd like for you to try him out, see what you think. It was impressive right off the bat, to be honest with you. NJ's passion for the business model he was presenting, how he had sort of gotten started, and what he wanted to do for us as managing our plane. We still had ownership. We didn't really want to lease planes or buy air miles, that kind of. We wanted to have our own physical asset, and so his concept fit that perfect.
I think I had a good sales pitch when I went in there, but it certainly was nerve-wracking. Lex was always tough. He'll read through the shit real fast. Robert, same thing. Robert was, his biggest thing was safety. He's a nervous flyer, and so, but I could relate to him probably more because my mother's a terrified flyer, and so I could relate to that with him and understood what his expectation was as far as, me being a pilot and me flying him, that, I need to take extra special care of him. And so, again, they gave me a shot. They let me manage their first King Air, and I think we must have done a good job.
And so we started out in the plan with Nicholas Air with the King Air. Nicholas Air was growing, and shoot, half the time NJ was a pilot on our flights. Whether we had customers on the airplane or whether it was us on the airplane or whatever, that attention to detail was always there. And still to this day, I mean, that to me, that is the unique advantage that Nicholas Ayer has over, anybody else is that attention to detail.
When I came on board, NJ had one PC-12, and we were also flying a 200 King Air that belonged to a group in Louisville, Mississippi that we worked for. And eventually NJ bought the second PC-12, Pilatus PC-12.
And you could kind of see it start to grow, and then all of a sudden you looked up and he had 5 planes. And then you looked up and then next he had 11. And it was like, wow, this is crazy. The market's there. Obviously, NJ's got a good mind for the clientele that he caters to, understands their needs and wants, and I think he's done a good job of growing that, but he's done it from a home build standpoint. It's kind of a weird way to look at it, but he didn't go in here like some of the competitors and get a bunch of private equity money and whatnot. He built this from the ground up, had a little bit of help from his father to start out, but he's basically built this thing all the way up.
If anybody knows NJ Correnti, attention to detail is what he is. That's his middle name, or should be. And so, the way that he took the vested interest into his equipment that he did with the Pilatuses and the way he wanted to make sure every detail was taken care of, that's where there wasn't a lot of fear about it, because I knew that, his tail was in that airplane with us, or his family or his customers and that type of thing. So, while there was some trepidation about being in it, it went away really fast in the way that he handled the business and grew the business out that way.
Really based on NJ's business model, his passion for it, the confidence we saw in him, and it has proven out to be successful, certainly for us. Very successful in our relationship with Nicholas Ayer.
Taylor Machine, they'll always have a spot, or they'll always be a part of the growth of Nicholas Ayer. I mean, they believed in me. What can I say? I mean, I showed up pretty much a one-man show wanting to manage an airplane for them, or get them into an airplane, and they had a major, I guess you would call them a major competitor, or one of the larger competitors that was, already well on their way of earning their business. And here I come along, a Mississippi guy, a young Mississippi guy wanting to manage their plane and pretty much being a one-man show. Why trust me with their huge corporation and all their people? When somebody gives you an opportunity or a shot, I'm not going to let you down. I'm going to make sure that I follow through with what I said I would do. And, again, being a one-man show, I had to prove to them that I could do this, and I could do it right. I could do it better.
The details matter. And I think that's what sets Nicholas Ayer apart. I've had the opportunity to fly private with some other people, and I can tell you right now, and I'm not just saying it because he's my best friend, but I'll say right now, like, you can tell the difference when you get on a Nicholas Ayer airplane versus anybody else's, whether it be personal or not.
Honestly, I was impressed. I couldn't believe that one person was running this big show. There were multiple planes already at the time. There were clients. He already had a few pilots as well.
Mary Shadricks was a godsend because she was very smart and very business-like. She knew how to take care of things.
So I just became that second person there in place, so he wasn't the person answering the phone with all the clients.
I mean, it was just A to Z. I was the one-man show trying to build this company, and plus fly the plane, clean the plane, making sure the service was done. The accounting, I'd get home, I'd be exhausted, and then I'd go do the billing elements of it, make sure that the invoicing went out. I remember staying up, all hours of the night doing marketing, and, I learned how to use Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator. I kind of self-taught myself those things. And then, that's really the Columbus roots.
Right around that time, 13, 14, I knew when he started looking for more employees, because he likes to do everything himself. He likes to micromanage all the areas. When he started looking for help, I knew that it was going to be a lot.
It was really busy in terms of just the client communications, taking care of the pilots, marketing, events, you name it. We knew we needed help, and so we actively started looking for other individuals who are willing to kind of put in the work and help make this amazing company grow into what it is today. And thankfully, we found some really wonderful people.
One of the first things I think that surprised me the most when I looked at what I was coming into with existing ads and marketing materials, NJ actually designed all of those materials. And so we had meetings and we went through some rebranding and maybe tweaked the brand a little bit here and there, but his initial vision has stayed true throughout.
Shauna, Karen, and Mary, they've all shared my vision. They've all been hard workers. They've never complained 1 minute. Mary obviously has a big place at Nicholas Air, always will. She was, the first office employee I had. And, her and I worked literally from where you're sitting to where I'm sitting, just staring at each other across desk, and we worked every day. And it wasn't from 8 to 5, it was from 6 till the job was done.
Shauna has been a huge impact, especially in the marketing role. Stephanie Favre.
Nicholas Air was very different when I started. I was, I believe, the 11th person, office personnel hired into the company. We were in just this little office in Columbus, Mississippi, just had desks everywhere, the partitions up, nothing fancy. And we came in wearing just whatever every day, sweatshirts, sneakers, a lot different from the culture today.
So my sister brought me a newspaper article that said that Nicholas Air was looking for a bookkeeper. So I thought, this is perfect, just a little air conditioning and heating bookkeeping job to finish out my time. And when I showed up to the office for the interview, I thought, this is not what I thought it was. So, yeah.
Karen, obviously, she came in. I remember the first time we interviewed her, it was Mary and I, and she thought Nicholas Air was a heating and air company. And so it completely threw her off guard. She thought that Nicholas Air was, an HVAC company. And so you could just tell she was kind of shocked when we told her what we did. Obviously I didn't know her from Adam, but she was hired into accounting. And she worked probably, more so with Mary there initially. And then Karen and I started working together. But I was still maintaining all the books and writing the checks. And I remember being in the office in Columbus and, saying this is getting bigger and bigger. This is, now instead of a quarter of my day being consumed by doing the accounting work, it's now turning into a half and now 3/4. And it was just the point where now, your checks are getting later and later when they go out.
I think it takes a little while to really get to know the person. But what stuck out to me was the dedication and the drive and the focus on what he was wanting to achieve. To be in business or doing the aviation service business for 25 years, to take it from 91 to 135. It was just the steps. He pushes because he wants his vision. He wants to be able to see it realized.
NJ really held on to the accounting side of things, and I think that was important for him to be able to see what was happening.
As a brand, I think NJ liked to kind of fly under the radar as compared to our competitors. He wasn't interested in being the biggest company or the flashiest company, but he did want to be the best company.
He always felt like he could do whatever it was, we could do it better. And he pushed us to do that. And generally speaking, our pilots did an excellent job of doing the best that we could, make your customers happy.
So everything that you know about drive and passion about what he does, about taking care of the customer, about taking care of employees, the way that things are set up are based upon those principles that he learned, that NJ learned from his dad, and the way that Nucor was founded, the way that Severcor was founded, and the way that Big River was founded. And all the things that the philosophies about employees and about relationships and about quality and about attention to detail, you can see it all. It's NJ but it's all driven from what he was taught as a young man.
The way that NJ has let everybody in this company kind of be a part of solutions and then see the fruits of their labor, that's 100% old school Nucor way. And everybody knows John Correnti was the CEO of Nucor and learned from Ken Iverson, who founded Nucor. And I think that when you have buy-in from your employees, it creates a business, a work atmosphere where, when a customer's not happy, nobody's happy. And, it bothers Team Blue if there's a customer that's upset, or it bothers Pater when he hears that a customer's not as happy as they should have been, or they didn't have the time of their life when they flew out west to do something.
It's, kind of that lean manufacturing and that incentive-based programs that I've adopted into my organization, which is extremely unique in private air travel, very unique, if not, a one-off. Nobody else seems to do that in the private aviation sector, but it worked. It was very impactful to my dad and his teams, and, they followed him everywhere they went. They loved my father. I mean, everybody loved my dad, and so, of course, just like anyone, you want to be liked, right? You want your employees to like you. You want to be a liked person. And so, I watched just the following my dad had, and of course I wanted to be like him. Of course I wanted to be able to do that same thing. I wanted to have that same following. It's more challenging in today's world. I mean, it's a different world than when my dad was really getting into business and leadership back in the 80s and 90s. But his influence obviously is very thick inside of Nicholas Air today.
NJ and I talk about that all the time, is the fact of to be bigger but stay small. And we both, try to strive for that as we grow, is to try to keep that small company feel, at the bigger that you grow. And that's all in relationships and how you treat your customers and how you treat your employees.
You have to think about the business, you have to think about the revenue, you have to think about the member, you have to think about the employees. There are so many different pieces. So when you add that perspective in there, it helps paint a better picture of the direction we need to go or how we need to do things.
Going back to my dad, I mean, again, the dinner table talk, I can remember hearing him say, or going to some of his speeches and his meetings, obviously always surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. Find hardworking men and women that are willing to come and work for you, provide them with the tools and the resources that they need, and then tell management to stay the hell out of the way.
And I've seen it happen 28 years ago. You give those farm boys the right tools, the right equipment, you train them properly, you keep management the heck out of their way, and Katie bar the door, the government will be calling me a liar because they're not making $75,000. They'll be pushing $100,000. I've seen it happen again and again and again.
That was, he was great at that. I'm probably have a harder time staying out of the way.
I'm gonna say, I thought, in my opinion, when he got his second, third airplane, I thought, man, he's got something going on here. When I saw it take another step was probably a year after his dad died. And I can tell you that I saw, from a business standpoint, him take another step in his career. It looked like the people that he was dealing with looked at him more as NJ Correnti instead of John Correnti's son.
If Mr. John Correnti walked into your office today, what does he say? What does he do? What does that look like?
Can't answer that one. Don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
Do you think you'd be surprised at where it's come?
Very. I think we all are, But, I watched him. He started from nothing, and, he worked his way up to the top. And trust me, I think about that every day. I don't know what I would do. I'd love for him to see it, you know. I remember 377, I think it was November, was last airplane I took delivery with him on, and I think about that day I had John Luke on my lap, and once we got up to altitude and my dad in the right seat, and that was a special day. Consist of the Pilatus PC-12, the Phenom 100, and Phenom 300s.
Sitting down with NJ and hearing from him firsthand what he wanted for his brand, his company, and to expand beyond just that boutique Southeast focused company was really what he was looking for. And when we sat down, we had the conversation about what's the identity here? What is exactly that we're trying to put out to the industry? Is it supposed to be this hyper growth plan that adds more aircraft and just says, look, we've arrived? Or is it going to be slow and steady and very analytical? And we've taken the latter approach. We're maniacal about the details. That goes from the aircraft all the way down into the finances and then how we're going to grow the fleet, what aircraft to bring on board. So to say in the past 4 or 5 years that this brand is almost unrecognizable compared to its old self, I think would be an understatement. We've grown in ways that you might not actually see on the outside if you're a customer of ours. Yes, you see a Nicholas Air red tail in locations that you never thought possible before. Every day our pilots are commenting that the aircraft are now in locations that they've never traveled to. We have several pilots that keep records of how many unique airports they've been to, where 5-10 years ago that may have been very much located right here in the South.
They sold more trips to more customers, more variety. He started adding the Phenoms, which were faster, wouldn't carry as much weight, but they had their own niche, like the PC-12 does.
The big milestone, obviously, getting into the turbojets. You know, the Phenom 100, you know, a milestone, but the Phenom 300s, that was when I knew that, you know, hey, this is turning into something, you know, significant, and I'm a major competitor now. And that aircraft, you're competing with the big guys. You're competing with some of the largest brands out there. And you know, that felt good.
Although it has grown, the company's grown, and the brand has shifted from flying under the radar and being known as a small boutique company, we've scaled up and we've grown, but we've kept that same feel of a small boutique company.
Miss Southern Hospitality. I mean, that's what it's all about. In other words, we project, you know, even those two different companies, we both project Southern Hospitality. And we're going to make sure that relationships with our customers are taken seriously, and that you know their family and you understand their family and you understand, you know, what's important in life. And in our case, is building good products. In your case, is getting somebody back and forth safely and comfortably and happy.
It's a company that really takes it to the next level as far as being as personable as possible. And I think a lot of that is the fingerprints that NJ put on it from the get-go, understanding the need and really capitalizing on that. I know it bothers him personally when his customers aren't happy.
That's a challenge for me, and of course a challenge for a lot of our team members, you know, because we don't want to let people down. I mean, they have lives, they're going to see families, they're going to graduations, funerals, you know, business meetings obviously are a big one. And, you know, so, you know, I've certainly experienced all of that as well with the family and businesses and other ventures. You know, I understand what they're going through, and, you know, that feeling you have inside of, you know, helplessness when you can't get to where you need to be for an important meeting or event. And that, you know, I guess it you know, when those members or a member feels that, I feel it with them, and it bothers me, it keeps me up at night.
So at the end of the day, I think that that his personal touch on this company is why it has grown to the scale that it has.
Even though it's two different companies and we're a customer of Nicholas Air and everything else, I mean, we kind of take pride in the fact that we've seen Nicholas Air grow up as a company and seen what it's become, but yet not lose its small company feel.
I think it has changed in the fact that the conversations then were more focused on trying to fix a problem that's already happened, where now I think we are actually trying to anticipate and get ahead of it. That's been a process.
NJ was apparently the kind of guy that could think on his feet, and he knew how to make that company grow.
Anybody can go buy private jets. Anybody can hire pilots. Anybody can get a charter certificate. Anybody can go out and put this together. But it's how is it unique? How is their experience curated? How is it customized? And our membership base, they want a relationship, and we give them that. We give them a relationship. You're in aviation. It's not going to go perfect. You're going to have delays. You're going to have weather, air traffic control, mechanical issues. There's just too many moving parts to have execute something flawlessly. Safety is number one. That's a given in aviation. You should never have to talk about safety in your company. But it's how you treat the members, how you treat the customers, how you communicate with them, how you make sure that when something does go wrong, how you follow up with them and explain the situation. And they want to be educated. They want to know why the delay, why the mechanical, what happened. They want to know why, and we take the time to do that.
NJ is so passionate about what he does that Peter can tell you I have to be careful about the things I mention because we like to joke with NJ about things sometimes. So if we joke with NJ about sometimes, Lord have mercy, he will lose it. And I think the best one was the coffee. We were riding from somewhere, I can't remember where, we were going to Jackson, Mississippi, and something about the coffee, and we sent it to NJ, and he absolutely went ballistic. And we had laughed at him, and we kidded him and poked at him about that forever. But the problem is, I'm afraid everybody at Nicholas Air got fits about it from then on.
I can't say any of those on video. In over his head. I've got, that's a good one. Honestly, I don't. Nothing really and truly, like, he is such a planner and such a neurotic person when it comes to making sure all the I's are dotted. I tell you what, I got a good one. Great. Perfect. So we're flying to Louisiana, and we are going to the Manning Passing Academy. We were supposed to fly into Houma, Louisiana, and we land in Gonzales, Louisiana, and nobody's thinking anything of it. And all of a sudden, we called the guy that's supposed to pick us up and take us to the Manning Passing Academy. And NJ had told our pilot the wrong FBO, and he says he didn't. And to this day, he says he didn't. And it was a transposed number. It was like 398 versus 389 or something like that. So it was just a transposed number. But we got there, and we were an hour and 15 minutes away from where we were supposed to be landing via truck. So the guys that Archie Manning had lined up to pick us up had to drive an hour to come pick us up and bring us back over there, which didn't take. There was zero time before we got there before everybody that knew anybody there was saying, "Hey, how was that flight? Where'd y'all end up at? Where y'all at?" He said, "This is what happens when I lose control." And it just drove him crazy. And to this day, I know Cooper Manning, he's the one who gives him a hard time about it all the time. He and Eli both. It's funny. They constantly mess with him about it. And it still bothers him that we landed at the wrong airport. And it was like he was at DEFCON 5 trying to figure out how to get us there and get us there fast because he didn't want anybody to find out that he screwed that up.
So Nicholas Air's motto is innovative private air travel. And I think the innovative part is key. We do things differently here, and we always will. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard NJ say, well, we're not NetJets and we're not Wheels Up, and I don't want to be. I want to be Nicholas Air only. And that's very important. We don't want to copy. I mean, for example, if you are a member on a flight at another company and you have an issue, it's very unlikely you're going to get a call from management to say, "I'm sorry that happened to you. We're going to do it better." That happens here, and that's very important. I think a key factor to everything here is, and something I really want to impart on everyone, is everyone in this company sells this company. It's our pilots, it's our operations, it's our team blue, our customer service, it's our marketing, it's everybody. We're selling a product at all times.
To be honest, I mean, we all have our days when we may not feel like we're at 100%, but in this industry, in this company, that's what it takes.
Excellence is not always easily achievable. That's a testament to this company. We've worked hard. We've worked really hard to get where we are, and I know we'll keep working hard to achieve whatever we aspire to. And that may or may not be defined now. We don't know what the future is going to hold. This could grow exponentially more. I mean, the growth I've seen in the 7+ years I've been here has been phenomenal. And to see that continue, and it will, if we all buy into that theme of excellence, of providing our members with the best experience they can have in private air travel. And that is what we are trying to do here.
You know, there's a lot of people that are in this building that remember when this was simply a 5 or 6 aircraft operation. So to see now the growth path that we're on and to see the different places that these aircraft end up every day, not only is it a great thing for the company, but it's also a proud moment for everyone in the building that's been able to work toward those goals.
NJ always went the extra mile as far as maintenance, or if the airplane needed something done to it to make it better, we got it, whatever it was.
Well, now we do know that, you know, the intent is to add 2 aircraft every year. That's one of the goals. This year we added 5. So it has grown a little more than we anticipated. But at the time that I came here, I think you were still at the precipice of seeing of what could be.
You know, if you were to ask me a single phrase that describes the NJ's philosophy toward Nicholas Air and what he always wanted this brand to be, is we don't have to be the biggest, but we will be the best. And being the best is not just about saying that you have the most aircraft or the best aircraft that are out there or the highest quality aircraft. There's a service philosophy that has to back that up. You can't just go out and say, well, we're going to be the best at customer service. You actually have to go and live that out every day. And I think that's ingrained in every person that walks through the door here, knowing that the customer focus is so prevalent in what we do every day. The pilots, they do an amazing job of getting to know the passengers that they fly day in and day out, and knowing that this particular person likes this food item on board, this particular person likes the cabin temperature to be just so. Those are the lasting impressions that our customers have, and that's what's created our service culture.
Cash flowing, I mean, that's success. You know, a viable and sustainable business model is success, and I do, obviously, we have to look at that, but, you know, what makes me sleep good at night or what puts a smile on my face is hearing back from a member or a customer of, you know, how good the service is, how unique the service is, what we do different. You know, we get them all the time, and to me that measures success. And also the renewals. I mean, if you continue to have renewals of your membership base, I mean, that tells you you're doing something right? They're going to continue to buy the product or buy the service. You're doing something right. So I think that's how you measure success in aviation, which is your retention and, you know, your customer feedback.
One of the things about Nicholas Air that continues to be a stronghold in what we do on a daily basis is the commitment that our members are not just a number. They're an actual person. They have family members, they have pets, and we pay attention to those details.
You know, and so, and being able to, you know, it's something as simple as being able to talk to somebody on the phone. In other words, if you got a problem, you want to be able to get somebody on the phone, not get an answering service to do it or have to do it over the internet. You want to be able to talk to a person to get you taken care of. And the sense of urgency that the Nicholas Air employs when you have a problem, what I appreciate is it doesn't matter what business you're in, you're going to have issues. And so it's not about having the issues, it's about how you react to those issues.
That's a very big expectation, and rightfully so. You know, our members, they come to us because we offer something different than most other companies out there, if not all other companies out there. You know, that Southern hospitality, you know, they get to know our names. We ask them about their family. We know their dogs' names. So we really do like to go that extra mile and put that extra touch on board, whether it's dog toys, birthday balloons for the kids, something for the anniversary. It really makes them feel like we are paying attention to them and, you know, really them only in that moment, that we, you know, really stepped up and did something that no one else does.
So I've been here for over 5 years now. When I first started, you know, Nicholas Air was much more regional. A lot of the members were based in the Southeast, so they traveled in the Southeast. Even though we went further, out in that area. And since my tenure being here, we've grown tremendously. So now we're servicing Denver. We're going further out west, Midwest, Northeast, Caribbean. And, it's just amazing to see how much we've grown since just I've been here. Going from PC-12s to Phenom 100s, CJ-3s, and the Phenom 300s up to bigger aircraft, the Latitudes and Challenger.
A lot of brands are focused purely on the growth of the revenue side of the business or the growth of the fleet, but we've taken a very responsible approach to making sure that the customer service experience rises at the same level that the fleet does, that the revenue does, that the number of employees that we have here in the building does.
The most pilots that were here when I was here, I think we were sitting around 40 pilots. We've more than doubled that. I don't know the exact number today, but it's well over double. Crisscrossing the country. Before it was very regionally, I guess you could say. There's more locations and new locations that we're adding, and just seeing the members, the new members, and the people that say, oh yeah, we signed with you 3 months ago. This is our second flight. We love it. And just seeing all the new members and the growth that's occurring here, it's nothing short of remarkable.
I've seen all assets of this company grow. New planes, more pilots, more staff. But there's one thing that I can assure that will never grow, and that's my facial hair.
One of the unique factors of being here at Nicholas Air is that the person at the top, our founder and CEO, is somebody that's actually done most of the jobs, if not all the jobs, that the company still does today. He's been a pilot, he's been the maintenance guy, he's been the line guy, he's been the customer service, the sales, the marketing. At one point in time, as any new business and new entrepreneur knows, there's an element of just, you have to do it all yourself. You have to grind through it before you can go and add a full team behind you to take care of all those little things. But it gives an inside knowledge to every facet of the industry that most CEOs don't have. The reality is most CEOs in the private aviation segment are folks that have been business operators before, or they've been CEOs before, come out of logistical backgrounds, but that's really the extent. There are very, very few pilots and former line techs and former sales and marketing people all wrapped up into one that are leading a company in this space.
NJ is definitely an ultimate resource. For me, I leverage that on a daily basis. It's invaluable. I work for companies where the management is non-existent at the top or not involved, and it leaves you feeling like you're on an island. I know that I can walk into NJ's office at any point in time. I know that I can call him and he will pick up the phone. We have the relationship where if something is important to me, it's important to him, and that we're going to work together to figure out what we can do.
It takes a special person to not only work in the aviation industry, but to work at Nicholas Air. We expect a very high level person to come in every single day. And I think having a CEO who has done it all, who has seen it all, who has literally, gotten his hands dirty with everything, and still willing to do that, that's what we get to work with every single day. Other people and like-minded people who have the same mindset as him. When you have the same mindset as your CEO and the founder, you're going to be a Nicholas Air person for life.
One thing about a great CEO is that they have the ability to attract and retain great talent around them, and that's certainly no different here at Nicholas Air. What NJ has in a leadership team is a group of business operators that have expertise in finance and legal and revenue generation, operations, matters on the flight line, and to be able to rely on that team every day while he is able to look at the bigger picture and propel us into the next 25 years of Nicholas Air is really important.
I think the biggest change and achievement is NJ's ability to hand off to his leadership team some very substantial roles. When When I started, I think it was 6 months before I actually saw was able to get into the P&L and balance sheet and the bank statements to do reconciliation. So it was a process. So I've seen the growth in that because it is his baby. He did nurture it. He was proud of it, and it's hard to relinquish that to other people. So to me, that was a major accomplishment.
So NJ is the most involved CEO that I've ever worked with in my 27 years experience in aviation. I came on board Nicholas Air as the Executive Vice President of Operations. One of the first things that NJ said was that he has a very good company, but it is 10 years behind the times when it comes to technology. And we got to work not only the leadership side, but on the technology side. And in 3 short years, we've grown to the point that the job was just too big for me as an Executive Vice President. And the introduction of the C-suite allowed us to have a defensive line in leadership to be able to provide multifaceted leading. This has allowed NJ to be able to step back a little bit and allow us to drive more, which is the vision that he's had, so he can be able to take care of the big picture and truly be the commander-in-chief, looking forward to what's on in the horizon for tomorrow.
Having more people in leadership has taught me a lot, to be honest with you. And again, being someone that's very hard to let go. But having, for your example, Peter, yourself as president, and Wendy as the chief operations officer, and Fernando as the chief technology officer now, and then Karen, of course, as the CFO, it's allowed me to obviously give you all more responsibility, but also allow the employees to say, okay, well, now these other individuals actually, they're in charge too now. And, so I've noticed a lot of people now seem to migrate, or starting to migrate more to, some of you versus bringing everything into my office, which doesn't bother me, but my door might as well have been a revolving door there for a while. It was nonstop. So it didn't allow me to focus on, I guess if you will, looking up from the bird's eye view, looking down at the whole, schematic or the whole company to see what was going on. And so it's opened my eyes on, some weak areas that we have in the organization and, areas we need to work on that I may have never seen because I was too consumed in the day-to-day business to be able to identify them.
Knowing his work ethic and the amount of things that are on his plate every day, I said absolutely, because he's incredibly inspired and intuitively smart, and I get inspiration from that. So I wanted him to have a better chance to take a big picture approach to the company.
I can relate to how NJ runs Nicholas Air, and it's the dedication and the passion that you have to put into it, but you also have to have other people to buy into your same vision. And from what I've seen, we've got a lot of people that buy into his vision and follow it. And it's because we witness him and the blood, sweat, and tears that he puts into it daily, not just every once in a while checking in on it. He is on it every single day, and so that drives people like myself to continue to build the passion and the drive to continue on, and not only with Nicholas Air, but this whole industry. So
it's just like anything else. I mean, obviously I have young children, but you hear the nightmares about the first time they get their driver's license, or when they get their driver's license and you let them, give them the keys to a car. It's probably a similar feeling, but it's always been very difficult for me to let go because I guess I strive for perfection, but I've, taught myself over the years and tried to train my mind to say, hey, you've got to relinquish some of the responsibilities because, it's impossible to handle it all. I mean, it's like a big, battleship, if you will. You put a captain in there, well, the captain can't navigate and operate the battleship by himself. It takes a full crew to do it. It's just impossible. He can't get it out of port, or you can't navigate it. You can't, run the engine room and run the helm at the same time. And it's just, you've got to learn to let go. And the most important thing, though, is to have a good team around you and surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. And that's important, and also people that share your vision, and that's difficult.
But yes, I've seen a step back from that, and with this new leadership team in place with Peter and Wendy and Fernando, I think it's definitely a a plus, from where we were to where we are now.
I was never really big on the big glamorous office buildings and hangars. Everyone would always ask, where are all these airplanes hangar? You must have this huge hangar facility somewhere. I said, no, hangars don't make money. Airplanes are just big paperweights if they're sitting inside of the hangar. I want them out in the air, generating revenue. And so, we usually don't build the big glamorous office buildings or hangar spaces. But I kind of changed my direction a little bit when we ended up choosing to move the headquarters here to Oxford, Mississippi. It was a great balance of everything, family life, recruiting. It was great for recruiting. It was much easier to get talent here. And Oxford's a great little town. I mean, it's a small town charm, but it has all the amenities of a larger metropolitan area, just in a smaller size.
So the rumor mill started a little earlier than NJ may have liked. It was definitely in the water supply fairly early that there was potential for the company to move. I know some names got passed around: Atlanta, Birmingham, Nashville, and eventually Oxford.
So I interviewed at the old office, and it was above a treatment facility for addicts. And so we were on the second and third floor, and they showed me, after I got hired, they showed me my office, and it was the closet next to the maintenance director at that time, in between HR and the maintenance office. And it was a closet, and it was tiny and narrow, and it had a little window, but I was happy as a clam. Upstairs from me was the ops center, and NJ and Peter and the whole team. So I didn't really have a lot of visibility on what was going on up there. Peter did take me on a tour through this building when it was being built. I think pretty quickly after. He took me on a walk through here when it was just concrete and pillars.
It really scaled when we made that decision. And so the building we're in now, obviously, is we didn't spare any expense. And I guess when I changed that philosophy, or when I changed on that decision to not, put a lot of dollars towards infrastructure, because again, nobody really sees this. They see our airplanes. So all of our money used to go to the airplanes and to the pilots, and to the customer service elements, which it still does today. But this office building has proven to be a showcase not only for the community, not only for the state, but also shows the customers or members that we have from these larger metropolitan areas that may be with these bigger providers that are competitors of ours. It shows them that we mean business.
So designing the command center, we had to take a lot of things into consideration, and it was more than just installing software and using it. Designing the command center that we have, that not only meets but exceeds 135 and 121 requirements, required us to build something that will not only meet the needs of now, but meet the needs in the future and be scalable as we continue to grow.
It's kind of just like a dream that's come to fruition for him and for us that have been here for a long time. Knowing that we used to work in cubicles, and now here we are with these beautiful office spaces.
Kind of everything that went into it, and how he wanted to have this facility be the best space for work, for clients to come into, to keep everyone happy. And I mean, obviously it's exceeds anything else in the private air market, but also anything that I've seen in Mississippi. It far exceeds that. So I think it's a great addition, and it was definitely a labor of love for sure, but it was a very stout project from the very beginning, I would say.
It saves me a lot of speaking because all you have to do is bring them into our building and it speaks for itself, and they automatically know that, hey, that's first class. Obviously, the service is first class. And so, I quite frankly, I wish I would have done something like this a lot earlier on. It was a no-brainer for us to choose Oxford and to put the shovel in the ground here.
It's really family friendly, which we'd had a few friends that lived here already. So we'd been down for football games and double-decker, and so we kind of knew that there was a lot going on, but once we moved here, there's so much for kids to do. Coming from Columbus, that was a big plus for us. When we moved here, we just had our third. So we had 2 in school and then 1 about to be. So there were a lot of options when we came to Oxford.
It's a very social community. I mean, that's one thing we discussed when we lived in Columbus, or I lived in Columbus for 12 or 13 years, 12 years. We went over to someone's house for dinner one time in that 12 years. We didn't realize that until we moved here.
Yeah.
When we first moved here and to our temporary house, we're like, we've been to dinner 5 times in 1 week. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And for me, I like being social, but I also like my private, quiet time. And so it was it was certainly different for us versus the social life. And, not just for us as adults, but also for the children.
I was in the building about 2 to 3 months before everyone else moved in, making sure everything was ready to go. The last month of the project, reality set in of how much was done and had to be done. So yeah.
It's been extremely fun to see the growth and feel like you're kind of a part of the growth of Nicholas Air, and seeing how it's progressed and become a nationwide, company and it's all over, and seeing those red and black tails everywhere, which you have to ask NJ where that came from. You think you might know that?
I think I might know that.
But it's really a proud, defining moment to see a Mississippi-based company, grow like what Nicholas Air has grown.
I managed their King Air for a while, and I got them to buy a Phenom 300 and let me manage it for them. And so we had the original blue paint scheme put on it that was on my 100, and it was Robert and Lex, and they're like, hey, let us, we kind of want to go a different direction with this airplane on the paint scheme. And I'm kind of like, oh, great, here we go. This is going to kind of screw my branding up, And so I guess it was Robert, I think, and their design guy. They sat down and they took I guess Photoshop or whatever, and transposed this red and black tuxedo stripe, as we called it, and then the red tail and red winglets. And I looked at it, and they sent me a PDF of it, and I looked at that, and I said, wow. I was like, now that's pretty cool. I said, well, how am I going to get this all changed over? Because I already had other planes that were painted in the blue. I said, well, this is going to be expensive. And anyway, long story short, I fell in love with the paint scheme, or the rendering, and we painted it on that first Phenom 300. And I mean, as soon as it hit the ramp, you got comments everywhere you went at the FBOs on, wow, that's. I mean, you don't ever see red airplanes or red tails or red winglets anymore. And it was very unique. It stood out, and it was what I like, very classy and conservative. Always being just a very conservative guy, I just liked how the conservativeness of it, and it wasn't, again, like a graffiti paint on the side of the airplane. And so we've stuck with that red tail ever since then. Now it's kind of, again, morphed into the red tail, and look for the red tail on the ramp. And that's where that paint scheme came from, though.
I think as I look back at Nicholas Air's humble beginnings in Columbus, Mississippi, at our small office when I was first hired, and then I look today at the new office, the spectacular office that we all get to work in, it's humbling and it's rewarding.
The progress that's been made in 6 years is astounding. But we're still getting our name out there.
You have to be able to respect the past and respect the fact that the brand, the image, the logo, the taglines, the advertising of the past is really what got you here. But then it's a constant evolution to figure out what is the next class, what is the next generation of private flyers looking for most, and be able to create tailored messaging to go after that particular buyer, that particular customer.
Keep the ship pointed in the right direction. Keep it steady, and don't waver or veer off course. Don't get too big for our britches. Always remember where we came from. I think that's important. We don't ever want to get up on, this high horse that we're better than everyone else. Just remember this came from humble beginnings, and stick to that, and just continue to grow the brand. One thing we can't do is we can't let size sacrifice customer service.
I am convinced that he'll be maybe one of the biggest ones in the country at some point in time.
And I do hope at the end of the day that it has helped NJ. That's really all I care about, is to, take some of the weight off his shoulders and allow him to experience what he's built. And that's really the most rewarding thing.
It's been a journey. It's been a stressful journey, but I don't think I'd change one thing. I think we've all done a good job, and it's not just me. It's everyone. I don't ever want anyone to think it's all me. It's not. It's maybe I had the vision, and of course I put the shovel in the ground, or planted the seed, but it takes a team, and if it wasn't for all these people around me, I wouldn't be able to do it. We wouldn't be here. So it's been an experience getting to meet different people. All the people in our membership base. Look at the people we get to meet. It's amazing. Some of the most predominant people in the world. So it's fun, minus the stressful part and the regulation and managing employees and the business. But it's fun.
Like at work and stuff, yeah. He's a totally different person. It's work, and I get that. Outside of work, crawfish boil, Christmas party. I've seen him dance before. Not that it's a great sight, but I've seen it. But yeah, definitely see him let loose and kind of open up to you a little bit more. Just being a normal, Joe Blow like the rest of us.
NJ has an uncanny sense of, I just don't even know what to call it, whether it's regarding maintenance, whether it's regarding people. He just has, he has an uncanny sense about things. I can't think of many times that he's wrong. I'd say 95% of the time he's right.
She said, what? I'm right 100% of the time, Karen. 100. Maybe 99.9. 95 is not acceptable.
He's very much family man. He has 4 kids. And I hear him talk about his kids, a lot. Not a lot of people do hear that. He is intensely private. But having known him for as long as I have, he knows my family, and I've known his over the years.
And I think that, having children, has forced him, it's caused him to see that there's a little bit more to life than going to the office every day and grinding till 6 or 7 at night. Luke's growing up. He's 11 years old, 11, 12 years old now. And they've raised a good boy. And a lot of that has to do with Christina, a lot of that has to do with NJ. But I say that, but I think that having children, building a family, reprioritizes your life a little bit. You figure out, okay, some of these things aren't as big of a deal as they once were. And if they are a big deal, I need to surround myself with people that can handle them. And if I need to get involved, I will. But also understanding that maybe I don't. I need to be able to step away and turn my phone off for an hour, which I know is kryptonite to him. So.
I have lots of stories. I've traveled with him over time, socially, business-wise, what have you. He's fun. He is funny.
remember trying to get this piece of crap started in the wintertime. Till I never waxed it. Never had to wash it. I'll help you turn the air on. All passes OSHA. I'll never forget one night I have a really hyped up Cobra Mustang that my Uncle Dennis and we built in the hangar here where that lift used to be, and I mean, it had so much power, it's just stupid. And I remember when I first got to know Cody, which you all know, and so Cody's dad was a senator pro temp. He was one of the head guys down in office down in Jackson. And so he came up to stay the weekend. My dad said, "Hey, take Mr. Brown, take Terry out and show him your car." And I was like, "All right, well, let's go." So he gets out and he says, "Y'all take me for a ride in it, He said, "I want to go for a ride." And I was like, "All right." And it's like, "Buckle up, put your 5-point harness." 5-point harness. I said, "Well, you need to be harnessed in." And I was like, "It's a race car." Come down here, we get on the runway, and I hammer on that thing. He said, "Whoa, man, that's go! Yeah, it's got a lot of power." Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh shit. I think we hit like 160 or something, and you've never heard that man for a loss of words, and he couldn't say anything.
I think NJ, he likes telling jokes, but he definitely likes situational humor and telling funny stories that we've heard, and telling funny stories that he experienced growing up and throughout his life. And he really does find humor in some of the small things, and situational humor, and definitely uncomfortable situations. That might be one of his favorite experiences, to watch someone in an uncomfortable situation, how they deal with that, for sure.
I've seen NJ do a lot of things that don't get recognized. A story that I will tell you is my brother went to an auction. This is back when we were in Columbus, and it's some wealthier people at this auction, and so it started bidding. The daughter was the main one who had spent the better half of a year making a quilt, and put a lot of time into it. And I think she put jerseys and just different stuff that was, stuff that was affiliated with the school and everything like that. And so the daughter really wanted the quilt. So she's like, "Well, I'll just buy it back." And so she spent, time bidding. And constantly someone was outbidding her. And finally, someone put a number on there, may or may not have been NJ, that was no one in the room probably could have afforded for a quilt, or at least wanted to pay for a quilt. And so my brother's sitting right beside this little girl and the mom, and they go to walk out. Of course, NJ had won the bid, and from my recollection of the story, as NJ walked out, he placed the quilt and gave it to the mom and daughter and continued to walk out. Didn't expect thank you, didn't walk up in the middle of the auction and bring it over. So that will forever stick in my head. That will forever stick in my brother's head. And I'm sure that meant the world to that mom and daughter.
Goodness, there's a lot that I know he's done. There's a lot he's done that I know he's done anonymously. So I don't know that I should, kind of spill those. But, we've done flights to help people. We've done Make-A-Wish flights. We've done, flights to help people get to medical care, things like that we've done that's not ever publicized. But, that shows the humanity in him.
I've heard other stories of him doing, donating, matching people's donations, and anonymous. So that's what a lot of people don't get to hear all the time. And, I don't know, maybe I've been here a lot longer, so I have a little bit more insight. I know some of NJ's friends and, people who used to work here that have heard some of the stories of him being very generous, that, of course, it will never get out, of some of those things that he's done. But that's a big difference on who you work for, is what they do, is the integrity, what they do when no one's looking. So
I've seen the stress he's under, I've been a part of some of that, and I can tell you right now that I don't know that just anybody could have taken that amount of stress. I mean, he's putting his life on the line every day, and I say life, his livelihood on the line every day, making sure that the bills are paid, the things are done properly, and he's setting up for the future, for the next one, and for the next one, and for the next one. I think that, I mean, in my opinion, it makes men out of some people, and it makes moles out of others. So,
I think the future is incredibly bright, and I'm excited to be a part of what's coming next.
You know how your parents always tell you life is short, and that it goes by faster and faster the older you get. You know, you're a kid rolling your eyes, you know? You're like, yeah, whatever, you know? It's, I mean, your mom and dad are always right. But it's a blur. Like I said, we were standing out on the runway, and it's hard to believe. It's 25 years ago. I still can't believe that.
So if John Correnti walked in today and saw this place, now granted, I'm a believer, so I believe he's watching us every day, honestly. But if he walked in here, I believe I could hear he had the most infectious laugh. It was loud, and just you knew when he was laughing. You didn't have to wonder if John was in the room, right? I could see him grab him, hug him, and 100% just lose it laughing. And then he'd lose it crying because he's so proud. Because I'll tell you right now, and it gives me chills to think about. I remember just things that he said, and when NJ, he did something one day, and somebody said, man, NJ, he knows how to do it. And he goes, he knows how to do it. He said, that guy, he said, he's way better than I've ever been. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. That's a hell of a compliment from one of the most successful people I've ever known in my life. And I mean that. I think that his pride for what NJ has put together here would be something that, honest to God, like everybody here would see it happen, even if they didn't know who he was, and know that there was genuine 100% to the bone pride for what his son's done. NJ didn't have to work this hard, and he knows that, and I know that, but he has, and he will continue to work this hard. Sometimes you guys say, man, you need to chill out. I texted this morning. I said, I'm coming to town. I'll be there at lunch. He goes, well, I'm not going to get a whole lot done today, so you need to just go and clock out like the rest of us.
He's always right on the mark as far as I'm concerned. And I know his dad was proud of him.
It was really amazing to see how proud he was of NJ. And I don't know if NJ always could tell it, but I could when I spoke with him, and how impressed he was with his son and what he's doing.
The one thing that I remember clearly, it was a few days before my husband passed away, and we were sitting in San Antonio, Texas on the river, sitting and having lunch, and he says to me, you know, Dawn, NJ is more successful than me. And I was like floored, literally floored. I was like, are you serious, John? And he said, yes. He was very positive about it. So he knew before he ever passed on, you know.
NJ, being the guy that he was, curious and everything else, I mean, he fell in love with those airplanes. Where that goes with John is that as that passion, you know, evolved, that I think it's very special that John had the vision to see that NJ had the passion for this and found an avenue to be able to begin, you know, and NJ's flying his dad around a lot to all these meetings, and because he's on a lot of national boards and that type of thing, and flying, you know, all these flying around the country to go to all these things. And that's where he learned the goods and the bads of what was going on with private aviation. And I think that's where because John believed in perfection in what he did, and he liked things the way he liked things, and that taught NJ to like things the way he liked things, and so that drive for perfection came from his dad. I truly believe that, and so but for John to give NJ that opportunity, but not entitling him. It's yours, but you got to make it survive. You've got to make it, be what you want to make it to be. And that's what he had an opportunity, but at the same time, he took that opportunity and he did something with it instead of just being, entitled and not driving towards making something, great out of it. His dad would be extremely proud of what Nicholas Era has become and how he's building that business and the principle, the Christian principles that company's founded on. Look at the logo. Everybody doesn't understand it, but the logo, there's that cross. And, every time you get in an airplane, there's a scripture. Everybody does that this day and time. And so that's very important at the foundation, of a Christian company is where that's come from. And his dad would be extremely, proud of that fact and seeing what he's become and know that he's still grounded, and done well. And don't you get too dadgum big-headed on this thing now. And I think it's a very important thing to mention there because the guy that was at that Bible airport is the one that took the time with him. He took the time with him as a kid to show him and make him fall in love with aviation.
His first mistake, Kelly, probably by getting me as an instructor. All of my students have become friends afterward. After I start flying with them, they become friends. And I'm proud of every one of them, but I got a special place for NJ. I guess maybe because of the youth that he started as and the amount of time we spent in the cockpit together, but kind of like a son to me almost.
Oh. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. And don't put this on the...
No.
Don't tell NJ that. He don't want to hear that.
I can't leave till 6. You think?
That I can tell.
You know I do that. You know I do that.
It's pretty good shit. Well, I'll tell you, yeah. So, first time I met, Jesus, made me realize how bright these lights were. And I don't know him, and I'm drinking. This is going to be a lot of fun. The ceilings are too low to land where we're going. We got to go to Tunica. Oh, yeah, I love to do that. He don't fly anymore. He probably don't know how. So, you're fucked. Oh. All right, motherfucker, here's the deal. Then when you're ready.
We were not on the same page when it came to NCAA sports. John was a state fan and I'm a rebel. Apparently, I did not make him mad. I didn't get fired. I can't say that I always agreed with what they had the pilots to wear, but I called us the gay undertakers. I'm not loony.
No, you're good. I'm tweaking my hair, so.
Well, I had, I don't know that would fit good in this documentary.
That's why I keep sniffing. I'm not really sure. The number of air, forget that.
I don't know that I know it by heart. Thank you for not putting me on the spot. We're not done? Thanks.
So we add the Phenom 300 with great legs on it. We've made it a service-focused. It's the collaborative. Each person in there could work collaboratively. I'm just going to say work together. Forget the big word. What I feel NJ's vision for the company is and has not. Give me the prompt again. Sorry. They have to. No idea where I was going with that thought. I know what I want to say. I'm just trying to phrase it in a. How did I start that off? And there's a lot of great projects that are on the. Certainly in the pilot mentalities. Whatever. You got enough, I'm sure, on that one.
Sweet. This facility has 44,000 feet of cable. Yeah, I wouldn't wish this upon anyone else. No, all joking aside, it's actually a great job.
I didn't like that answer. It's something about staring you in the eye. So does it look like I'm looking at you? I'm looking at your left ear over just my lifespan of here being here. All right, can you ask that question one more time? I want to make sure. It's an important question. I got to make sure I hit this one right. Especially me. Do you get nervous in front of the camera? No, I got, yep. It's like, I have everything I want to say, it's just about piecing it together. And I know you're good at piecing some of it together. The moment that I knew, damn it, when is this going to be released?
All right, so just pick anything and just start talking. Is that really? Outtake. We're always looking at, hold on, let me put this. As Nicholas Air continues to grow, let's see here, personal relationship, just, you're splicing stuff too, right? Yeah. We're always committed to, from a customer Take your time. Wasn't too bad.
Or does it make my posture look?
I'm not afraid of this.
For not to. Well, I was the. Well, Yeah, so a story that you know, when you're looking for an employer.
I was thinking, you know, what did I get myself into here? I don't know what I feel like I'm kind of rambling here.
Can you button that top button for me?
My neck's a little, well, I can hide it. Does that look better? That kind of stuff, I guess. Shit. I hate being put on the spot.
Okay, so start with your question again. When I started, Nicholas, well, let's start again. Why is this so hard? Okay. I interviewed at Nicholas Air. Man. Where it really talks, oh man, I was in a roll there. I can think of when I first met Peter and NJ. I asked Peter in the end of the phone, how will I recognize you guys? He said, 2 tall guys. And when I met them, I was like, geez.
Yeah, the lights are a little blinding, but it's okay. Huge change. When I was a little kid, I used to hide under the table when people tried to take my picture. Thanks for giving me a heads up on this one. I thought you were just gonna ask me questions.
Don't look at the camera. Okay. This is, all the lights in my face, and I'm not nervous at all. Is it gonna get rid of the shine on my face or make my face more shiny? Can I have some of that to use in my everyday life? Oh wait, were you not recording?
Did look at you? All right. Let me start over. That sounded ridiculous. All right. I'm trying to think what else here.
It's up to you.
Here, I'm gonna just start from scratch. Go from the top. Getting freaking cotton mouth. All right. Let me. Can I redo that beginning on how I kind of came here? Because that was sort of all over the map there. I don't know. Well, whatever. We can go with that. If you need me to do it again, I can come back in and rip it up.
No.
I didn't have to show my feathers too much. Then flying up to Jonesboro every weekend and picking her up, it was just comical.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the people at the
word
airport.
around town.
Yeah, the word around town. She come walking out to the FBO in Jonesboro with this little Chihuahua, which we still have. She's
still have her.
18. And she come walking out and prancing, little dog, and Christine walk out with a little bag. She'd hop on the airplane, and I was building my time.
I got a lot of. Who is this girl that gets picked up at the airport every weekend? Yeah. Got a lot of that going to school. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of how to start that off. Ask me a question. How are you going to control this in the video? Like, what's the... Well, I mean, I'm getting into it. Can I roll? Missing the key? I don't know how this thing's still standing.
Couple trips down memory lane, I'm sure.
I mean, look at the bird. I mean, seriously, look at the bird nest.
Watch that wasp pick there.
Look, your bird nest growing in the fuel tank.
Yep.
Those are all the runway lights that that they mowed over. They put brand new runway lights in about 6 years ago. The grass grew up so high because they weren't maintaining it. The guy comes out in the bush hog and he goes, knocks every one of them.
Knocks every one of them down.
Ate every one of
that,
them. You sure I'm not squinting?
You're good.
Man.
Right. You want to get up for a second?
No, I'm good. I just feel like I'm like staring at the sun. I'm good. I'm just, yeah. I want to see white dots in my eyes for a happy member. I mean, yeah. The smell of jet fuel. No, I didn't say that. A happy member.
Okay. Well, that changes perspective a little bit.
I want to say that on camera.